Today I'm tying a Klinkhammer, and this is one of my most successful flies. I've used it all over the world, from Alaska to the Czech Republic, and it's never failed to deliver. It's tied on to a Hanak hook, and this has a wide gape, and the curve of the hook sits below the surface of the water. It's a very nice shape. So first of all, I'm going to use black thread, and unlike other flies, you only need to put a small amount in to begin with. What I mean is you don't have to put thread all the way down the shank. And now next I'm going to use a material which is called Aero Dry Fly Wing. It's very expensive, as you can see, but it does the job. It's got, they claim, hollow sections inside which increases buoyancy, and to a degree it is a good material. It does seem to do the job. So I cut off 4 strands of this material, and tie that in. I don't go too far down the hook, and I tie it back off the eye because this is going to act as a post. And then what I do is I put a few turns in front just to make it stick up a bit. Once I've done that, I can trim this off at an angle. This is quite important because you want this to merge into the body, so the angle is quite critical. And then by putting thread over that, I can give the fly quite a nice shape. And then I start working on the post because I want it to stick up. And so I start putting turns around the post to give it some strength. Like that. Then I put a few more turns, maybe figure of 8. Okay. So it's handy if you've got a tilting vise, because what you can do now is move the fly so that it's easier to tie in some of the material that we're going to use next. So this is Glow Bright number 5. You can't use anything else but Glow Bright number 5. So I tie that in. And I take it all the way down the hook as far as I can. The further the better. I'm actually going to move, I'm just going to bring the thread back up, and then I'm going to move the fly. So put it in another position. So this makes things a bit easier to deal with. So now what I have to do next is make a butt. Whether this makes a difference to the efficacy of the fly, I don't really know, but they say that these red butts act as a target section, and also it represents hemoglobin in the body, which is used by the fly when it's changing into an adult and emerging from the water. It uses blood, it pumps blood into its body to escape from the shook and to form its wings. So there we are. That's a butt. And now we're going to use Flexi Floss. This is a stretchy material, and a lot of people tie the Klinkhammer using a dubbed body, but in my opinion, the Flexi Floss is better for a number of reasons. First of all, it's neater. It makes a much finer body, which I think better resembles the natural. But also, because it doesn't absorb water, it helps the body of the fly to sink below the surface film, thereby mimicking the action of a fly that is emerging, and so presents a more attractive target to the fish, because they think that they're more likely to catch a fly which is emerging rather than a fly which is sitting on the water. And so they're using the minimum amount of effort to catch the fly, or improving their chances, whichever way you want to look at it. So come up the body with the Flexi Floss. When I get to the end, I wrap the Flexi Floss around the thread a few times just to lock it in, and then put a few turns of thread around the hook, and there we are with the body. So next, the wing. For this I use a badger. You can see that I've already taken a lot of the best feathers out. Use this quite a lot, made a lot of Klinkhammers. So you select a feather which is going to have fibres that are more or less the width of the gape of the hook. So that's a good example. And then strip off the fluffy section at the bottom. Like that. And I'm now going to tie that against the post, because it makes life a lot easier. I'll just bring the fly back down. And do it with the dull side facing out, because when the fly is sitting on the water, I want the feather curvature to be facing downwards rather than upwards. It can be the other way if you like, but that's the way I prefer it. And then to lock it in, I just bring the stalk of the feather forward and tie that in. Snip off waste material. Next I use Spectra dubbing and I put this in quite a small amount onto the thread. So there's the dubbing. Now I wind the dubbing in from the front and then behind the post. So I'm hiding the base of the feather and the base of the post. Next, this is where an adjusting vise comes in handy. I take the thread up around the post and the feather and then bring it back down again. Using hackle pliers, I now grasp the tip of the feather and put in a few turns. Now, I don't limit myself to a specific number of turns. I'll put in as much as I can. And I used to do this very carefully, but now I find that I can go over the hackle itself and it doesn't make a great deal of difference. When I get to the end, I tie the hackle in and snip off the tip. Just make sure everything's down nice and tight. Finally, I just put a couple more turns on it. And finally, I do a whip finish. Now, I'm doing it with my fingers because I can get over the feather. I've got more control, but you don't have to do that. You can use a whip tool, but it's a little bit trickier. So just tidy up the wing, and there we are, the Klinkhammer. That's how it sits in the water. Now you have a go.